Hello, it's me, Darth Paradigm. I'm going to do a comparison of the Saberforge Prodigal Son and the Classic Hero by Rebel Sabers. Now, the Classic Hero, of course, is LGT Saber Studios hilt. It's their version of Luke's saber. Mine uses the Eco Smooth Swing soundboard. It isn't the NeoPixel version. But the hilt is more or less the same, so this video isn't really going to be so much a comparison of the electronics as it is the design of the hilt. Uh, the other hilt here is, of course, the Saberforge Prodigal Son. This is not the crystal reveal version or anything like that, but it does have the illuminated buttons here, which are currently not illuminated because the saber is not on. The Prodigal Son measures in at 12 and 3/8 inches long, and the Classic Hero, which I'll just call the Hero from now on, measures in at 11 inches. So, starting from the pommel, not the pommel, the emitter. That always has to happen at least once in every video. Let's see. Now, the Hero has kind of these dimples on the end with a little section that rises up. And the blade, I have a 36-inch blade inserted into this. This is the one that came with the saber. 36-inch seems to work very well for Luke's saber. It just seems to be a good fit, especially for this hilt. So it inserts, about to here, so maybe about an inch and a half of blade depth. But it's held in place by four blade retention screws, so it's very, very securely in here. I currently am only using two of the screws because, well, I'm not using it for dueling or anything like that, so it doesn't have to be that secure. Now, the way the Prodigal Son works is there's a bit of metal around section that inserts into the tube from the emitter, and that kind of added security to the blade because the depth is about the same. Actually, it's a little bit less. If you take a look at it from this angle, you can see that the Classic Hero, the emitter is a little bit longer, so it is only maybe about 3/4 of an inch blade depth here, and this is only held into place by one blade retention screw. So without that that part that they designed here to insert into the blade, it would be pretty wobbly. But as it is, I mean, this is it really kind of, it's a tight fit. So this blade is pretty secure. I've got a 32-inch Infinity V4 blade inserted, and it's a blade specifically designed by Saberforge. Well, it's not designed specifically for thin neck sabers, but it's finished differently than your normal blade. On these, the diffusing film stops short of this section here, so they leave about an inch and a half where you don't have diffusing film, and they don't glue it into place. Usually it goes all the way, most of the way to the end, and then it's glued into place, but they do it so it fits kind of short of this the piece that sticks out. But I still had to kind of cut back the film a little bit because if you get the blade in all the way, it kind of scrunches the film, and you really notice that when you illuminate the blade. It kind of shows up as deformities. So we get to the next section. Similarities between the next section. Well, the next section is a little bit shorter, and on the Hero here, it's kind of, you can't really tell on the camera, but it's kind of a rose copper finish. It's very, very nice coloring. It's a little bit more traditional copper color on the Prodigal Son, although it does, in this lighting, have, I don't know, now that I'm looking at it, the tinting is really the same. It's kind of a rose copper color on both of them. So it's really quite lovely, and all of this is very, very solidly put together, as is on the Hero. And then we get to the grip section. The grip section on the Prodigal Son is a lot beefier. They're both comfortable, but I would have to say that the grip section on the Hero is definitely more comfortable. It doesn't seem to chafe your hand quite as much. The Prodigal Son's a much heavier hilt. I don't have the means to weigh it, otherwise I would give you my interpretation. But I would say, it could very well be almost a half a pound to a pound heavier. It definitely makes for a bit more of a challenge swinging the Prodigal Son. It's really more designed to be a shelf queen, something that you show off. You can swing it around a bit, but it would be a very, very tiring and kind of grinding. It would kind of it would do number on your hands to swing this around too much. That's just my opinion. I don't really swing this saber around too much. Not that you can really tell, because they're both fingerprint magnets, and I opted not to clean them up before the video, because you need to know that they're fingerprint magnets, and once you start handling these. And I'm not one to wear gloves traditionally when I'm handling these sabers. I'm not that uptight about them. Whatever wear they get from my ownership, it is what it is. But let's see. The one thing you do need to know is that the grips on the Prodigal Son are a little bit wider, and I think there's more of them than there are on the Hero, so that's a bit of a difference. So it's a kind of maybe about half-inch longer on the Prodigal Son. Anywho, let's get to the switch sections now. This is where things start getting interesting. Neither of the clamp section on the Hero, kind of just a control box with the aforementioned LEDs, and this thing is a non-functional, I don't know if it's supposed to be buttons or something. Traditionally on Luke Skywalker's saber, it will say Graphics here, or at least I think it's supposed to. You don't get that with either of these hilts. This little clamp thing, this is just sort of decorative. It's a really nice touch. It doesn't do anything. It's just performative. It's just meant to look good. And as far as the controls go, this card slides out. You got your main power switch. It's not a backlit switch like you would find on most LGT Saber Studio chassis. The Eco Smooth Swing usually has the backlit switch. Now it's there. It's just buried in here, so you can't actually see it. It's the same basic style of chassis, or at least I'm assuming it is. I'm not taking this hilt apart to check it. And this just kind of secures into place, and it's held in by friction. And there is this one actually came with an alternate clamp card with a different design, but I keep this one in because it's a bit more traditional. And to turn this one on, it's just a matter of holding it. You recognize that. Hit the button and we're on. Off to the races. It's bright enough. It gets the job done. I'm not going to go through all the functions of the soundboard. That's not for this video. There's plenty of other videos to see how this particular soundboard works. To turn it off, you just hold that. And when you want to turn the saber off, you have to actually hold this button down for an excess of about 10 seconds. So what I usually do is I turn it on, and then I just hold it. That should do it. It didn't do it. Let's try it again. I'm actually going to look at the timer as it ticks off. There we go. There we go. Now it's off. So that's how that works. And the reason why I turn it off and then I power it off with the blade on is because that preserves the font that it's set to. And I keep this one set to the Luke Skywalker font from episode 4, which is actually, you know, the traditional graphics font, but it works just fine for this thing. And obviously I keep the LED set to green. Now, this is a Champion Edition, or one of the older Champion Edition Saberforge hilts that you can't get anymore. Now they use the Golden Harvest 3. This has the Sabercore 3.0.
Prodigal son.
And it has a little tactile switch there and a recharge port. And this little plate's held on by a magnet. It's got a little bit of a tape there. Actually, this one doesn't have the tape. And you just kind of locked it in there. And you can see the illuminated LEDs. Now, when you tap this, it wakes it up. It wakes the Saber up. And it'll, you know, immediately after turning it on, it'll give you the option between 3 different fonts. But if you wait a second, it'll just default to the font that was selected. In this case, it's Prodigal Son. The font specifically designed for the Saber. Now, this one has a flicker, and it also has flash on flash and blaster block effects. They're very subtle, but they're actually there. You hear that click? That click is from the font recycling. It's kind of designed as such. Sometimes it does that. And it's designed as such that it's just poor editing, to be perfectly honest. When they had it looped, they just didn't carefully pick a spot where it looped, where there wouldn't be kind of an effect like that, like what you're hearing. So this Saber, there's no way to put it into deep sleep mode. It'll just go into deep sleep mode kind of on its own. I think it's probably somewhere around 10 minutes or whatnot. It'll just turn off and then you're off to the races. So that's that side of the clamp card. On the other side, you can see it's just pretty plain. This one's a little bit more ornate with the design to resemble your traditional clamp card. And as far as comfort, I would say that there's no such thing as a control box or a clamp card on a Saber that's actually comfortable. But of the two, I would say that this is a little bit more sharp and a little bit more uncomfortable to try to wield than is this one. This one, although still sharp, it's a bit of a smaller box, and it seems to be just that much less obtrusive. It's a little bit shallower, not by much, but just enough to this one tends to work better. Plus, you know, it helps that it's a much lighter hilt. So this one's definitely more, I would say, more dual worthy than this one ever would hope to be. And then you get to the back end of the Saber, the pommel end. These sections are pretty similar in size and dimensions. On the Hero, one thing to be aware of is this little V clamp, this little V cup thing, whatever you want to call it. If you remove the pommel with this thing in this position, it will kind of scratch up this section. You can see the scratches. That's what causes that. So just be cognizant of that when if you get this hilt. Just, you want to make sure that this thing is down here at all times. And the Prodigal Son, of course, it has its own little V-shaped or triangle-shaped clip, whatever they're called. And I'd say this one's probably a bit more accurate. This one's a little bit, I don't know, a little bit spindly, and kind of looks a little bit cheap. This one looks more official to me. Again, that's just my opinion. Both both Pommels have, I believe, they both have 2, 4, 6. What's this? 2, 4, 6 cubes. All right. The Pommel, the Hero, is kind of more of a salt shaker design, and I think this has a 24 millimeter bass speaker. The Prodigal Sun has a 28 millimeter bass speaker, so, and a little bit more of a room for resonance for the speaker here, so it does tend to sound bassier and a bit louder than the classic Hero. The speaker tends to ride all the way to the end with maybe only about a ½ inch of room for it to kind of resonate. So let's turn both these on. I'm not going to go through all the sound effects. I've done reviews and demos of both these Sabers, so just listen. Yeah, let's do this. Now you can set the classic Hero, the Eco Smooth Swing soundboard, to a flicker or an unstable blade, but it doesn't work in quite the same manner as it does on the Prodigal Sun. The Prodigal Sun is a true flicker, and it's much more aesthetically, and it's much more pleasing to the eye. I like the solid blade effect for the Eco Smooth Swing soundboard on the Hero. Not only that, usually when the pulse or the unstable blade is on one of these Eco Smooth Swings, it really plays havoc with the soundboard. So it's just best to I don't know, I just leave it on solid. And yeah, those are the main differences between these two hilts. Price wise, I would say they probably differ by an order of about $100. But if you were to get the fully tricked out Profi V2 version of the classic Hero, it'll probably end up running you anywhere between $4.25 and $4.50 from most resellers. I purchased mine from Rebel Sabers because the price was best for me, for what I was looking for. I just wanted in-hell LED. I didn't want another NeoPixel to have to deal with. I wanted something I could potentially duel with if the opportunity ever arose. Something that I wasn't too concerned about having to recharge all the time as you do with NeoPixel. And for my needs, this was sufficient, and I'm really glad that I purchased this. This is just a wonderful Saber, and it's you can't go wrong. And not only that, it came with a stand, and it came with a lot of extra accoutrements, and Rebel Sabers really took care of me. Well, LGT Saber Studios took care of me, and Rebel Sabers they got me the hilt, and they did a good job. So as far as I haven't checked the price recently, but now these will come if you want to get a full NeoPixel with the Golden Harvest V3. Probably going to cost you somewhere around, maybe $500, maybe more. I'm thinking like $494, but that could be that could be a lot more. I think they actually have these in stock now. Last time I checked, they did, but stock is stock for both of these companies is kind of a little bit flighty at best. The Saber community is being hit with a lot of restocking issues. It's just sort of the nature of the beast these days. So anyway, let me just give you one more real quick visual tour. I don't think I've missed anything, really. Hopefully the sound quality of this video won't be too bad. I've had a couple setbacks trying to record this video in the past. One of them was a sound problem. The other one was just me being a darn fool. So, I will put a link to a video, kind of a video that I had. Well, it's very much like what I'm doing now. It's just beauty shots. But this is meant to be a little bit more descriptive. And as I said, it's just meant to sort of lay out the differences between the hilts in case you were wondering what they are. If you're trying to make a decision. Of course, if you want the ultimate in realism, you'd want to go with a Corbanth or replica. There are plenty of high-end companies that do. I mean, you've got your creepy uncles out there, and you've got I mean, there's so many different companies that produce really super accurate. These are just meant to be sort of economy for the average layperson that just wants to have a really cool Luke hilt, and I think both these fit the bill. Anyway, so that pretty much ends up wrapping up this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was informative. Please hit me up in the comments, and I'll try to answer your questions to the best of my abilities. Just keep in mind, the Prodigal Son I bought off of Facebook, so I did not buy that from Saberforge, so I don't have any kind of idea of what the current lead times are. And for the classic hero, it took, at the time when I purchased it, a couple weeks for it to arrive, so it wasn't too bad. But you know how these things work. Anyway, so that's it, and may the force be with everyone. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. You take care.